At this time, we are fulfilling a unanimous consent to give tribute to our first responders. The member from Newmarket, Aurora.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I'm honoured to rise on behalf of Tim Hudak, Leader of the Official Opposition, and my colleagues in the PC caucus. And I know that I'll be joined by my colleagues here unanimously. I had the privilege of bringing this bill forward, and as members know, it was a complex process. What is, however, very encouraging is that ultimately this bill was passed because unanimously we, as members, agreed that it was the right thing to do. It's appropriate that we would take a day when we would recognize the contribution that first responders make to our communities. There will be a memorial this weekend, and we will remember first responders who died in the course of fulfilling their duties. And I've participated, as many members have, over the last number of years. I now will have served June 9th, if we get there, for 19 years. And I know there are some members who are pleased to know that I'm moving on. But thank you, Minister of Health. But over that time, I have had the honour to participate in those memorials. But what is important to me, and I believe all of us, is that we not only remember first responders who have died in carrying out their responsibilities, but that we remember them while they are with us and carrying on those responsibilities. Yes. That we celebrate what you do and we're appreciative of what you do. And that's what this bill does. The purpose of the legislation is so that we would raise awareness within our communities, starting here, as we're doing now, as members of the legislature, to give honour and respect and celebrate. And the objective was that throughout this province, that whether at municipal level or whether in our schools and auditoriums, throughout our communities, that we would come together, people would come together, pause, take this day and say, thank you. We appreciate what you do for us. We appreciate the safety and security that we enjoy in our communities. That doesn't just happen by accident. But, Speaker, we often take for granted these important services and the dedication not only of the first responders, but of their families as well. Not an easy task to, day in and day out, put yourself in harm's way for the protection of people within our communities. And so we're here celebrating that contribution. One of the initiatives that I undertook to try to spread that news was to initiate an essay contest in our schools. Contacted both school boards in Newmarket and Aurora and York Region, and asked to have students participate and write an essay to say what first responders mean to them and to our communities. And I'd like to read into the record one of those essays that was received, because I believe that this really goes to the heart of what we're trying to achieve with this day. It's entitled Heroes by Tatiana Pancho, grade 11, Sacred Heart Catholic High School. In 2009, I had a brain aneurysm which led to a stroke. I had a bleed on the right side of my brain. I was left side paralyzed and had to learn how to walk and talk all over again. I was with my father when I felt a weakness in my knees. My hero, my father, a Toronto police officer, went into emergency mode. His action saved my life. He called 911 and the emergency medical services unit came out. My heroes, the ambulance attendants, were quick and thorough. They got me to the hospital, by which time I was in a coma. My heroes, the emergency staff, doctors, nurses, and administrative team worked diligently to ensure my safety. The doctors requested air transport to the sick kids. Organizing this would take 3 to 6 hours. My dad, Superman to me, called his unit. His unit command called York Regional Police, and they came to his rescue, my rescue. They blocked traffic and got me to sick kids with moments to spare. I was then rushed into surgery. My heroes, the doctors and nurses at Hospital for Sick Children. My heroes, the police officers who keep us safe, firefighters who are not only there if there is a fire, but are called out to motor vehicle accidents to assist with the jaws of life or simply to get your pet out of a tree. The EMS team who works against time to get patients to the hospital. The administrative staff in hospital. The first contact in a hospital visit. The doctors and nurses who fight the odds constantly to ensure survival. I am here to tell my story because of the amazing work of first responders. First responders, 911 operators, police, fire, ambulance, my heroes. I want to thank Titania for her essay and her insight. And in closing, Speaker, I want to give a very special recognition to someone who was very instrumental in me bringing this bill forward, and that is Valise Stone, who is with us. I would ask her to stand. Valise Stone is the author of a book entitled 911, True Tales of Courage and Compassion. And Valise came to my office and gave me that book, and it recounts the stories of first responders who Valise asked to share the most memorable times that they've had in carrying out their duties. I commend that book to all members. In fact, when I first introduced this bill, I made that book available to all members here. I believe it's something that everyone in this province should read. Again, in closing, Speaker, I just want to express our sincere appreciation to the work that our first responders do, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Our province and our communities are what they are because of the work that you do. Thank you.
Next tribute, please. The Minister of Community Safety and Corrections.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, it is my great privilege to rise in this House today on behalf of our Premier, my colleagues in the Government Caucus, and the people of Ontario to recognize and express our gratitude to our first responders. Speaker, first responders provide emergency services in times of crisis. Every day, our first responders put their lives online to protect us, our friends, neighbors, and loved ones. They are there when we need them most and look after us in our time of need. We are always confident that Ontario's first responders are ready at moment's notice to protect our homes, businesses, and our communities. To recognize their ongoing commitment to community safety, the Ontario Legislature proclaimed May 1st of each year as First Responders Day. I especially want to thank Speaker, the member from Newmarket, Aurora, for championing this very important initiative. Speaker, first responders include police officers, firefighters, military personnel, paramedics, medical evacuation pilots, dispatchers, nurses, doctors, and emergency managers. It also includes the many volunteers and professionals who dedicate their careers to the service of others. Emergency service providers are important members of our communities. They are also our neighbors, friends, and relatives. Speaker, I'm very proud to note that my late grandfather, Ghulam Abbas Naqvi, was a police officer. Our first responders help people in times of crisis, but we also want to recognize their volunteer work, which helps strengthen our communities. From charity events, toy drives, community car washes, and coaching Little League, our first responders are a positive example for our youth and to everyone in our communities. I was pleased to join Premier Wynne and Minister Kevin Flynn and MPP Stephen Del Duca yesterday to announce that our government is improving supports for firefighters across Ontario. We're increasing cancer coverage to make it easier for firefighters with cancer associated with their work to qualify for workplace insurance benefits. It's the right thing to do to help protect those who protect us. Speaker, we know that Ontario families and communities are safer thanks to the dedication of our first responders who are there to help us when we need them most. They make a difference every day in communities across our great province. They help us feel safe and protect us against during emergency situations. I also want to recognize the sacrifice of their families, their partners, their mothers and fathers, and their children. Thank you for sharing your loved ones with us and putting them in line of harm. Speaker, we also want to take the opportunity to pay our respect to those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. Working with firefighters and police, we created an annual tribute to honor those who have died in the line of duty. This weekend, the Ontario Police Memorial Foundation will hold its annual ceremony of remembrance at Queen's Park here in Toronto. The names of fallen officers are inscribed on the Wall of Honor. Let's all take a moment to reflect on their courage and dedication. Speaker, heroes are defined by the way they live their lives, serving their communities and protecting those in harm's way. To the families of those who have given their lives to protect others, we owe you an eternal debt, and we keep the memory of your loved ones in our hearts and minds so that they may be never forgotten. Ontarians are privileged to be protected by our first responders. We are grateful for their dedication, for their public service, and their commitment to duty and service. Thank you. Merci.